Hi, everyone. Welcome to the iNETrepreneur Network radio show, the iNETrepreneur. I'm your host, Robert Jones. I'm the owner and chair of the iNETrepreneur Network. And today, I'm really excited because we have three guests and we're going to be talking about how to make real money in the fourth quarter. Let's knock 2020 out. For a lot of us, it's been a hard year so far. Even in my organization, the first 2 months, we did better in the first 2 months than we have in the last few months, but we've decided to take a lot of pivots. We were an all in-person networking organization, and we changed the look of it to being an all virtual networking organization. And now we're starting to be able to have some in-person meetings again, and we're starting to gear up, like many other entrepreneurs. But not everyone has been so fortunate over this time frame. And what I wanted to do is bring on our guest today so we can talk a little bit about, what entrepreneurs can do for themselves so they can bulletproof them, financially. And I think that that's one of the things a lot of times that we don't always think about when we get stressed, when we feel like, we have anxiety, the places that we used to market, the in-person meetings, et cetera, they all go away, and then we start losing focus and we start to forget to fill our calendar and we start to do the very things that make us successful in the beginning. But today these conversations are going to go the way of what can you do even if you had a bad second and third quarter of this year to 10x this last quarter of the year, finish strong and go into 2021 with a few things in your arsenal to make greatness. And so that's what we have. But before we get to that, I just always want to remind everyone to go ahead and, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Right here, you can subscribe at youtube.com, iNETrepreneur Radio, and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/iNETrepreneur Radio. And also find our events at ntevents.net. We still put on almost 1,000 meetings and events per year. And each and every week, we have anywhere from 150 to 250 people coming through our chapter meetings and our specialty events. We have Academy, we have a magazine. We also have a book coming out called 365 Days. It's actually The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes by entrepreneurs, business owners, and influencers just like you. If you would like to be a part of this book or learn more, please contact me. You can get to me by calling 480-299-0088 or reach out into the comment area here, and I'll be sure to reach out to you. So again, I'm really excited about the book that we're having coming out. I'm really excited that, we are choosing in the iNETrepreneur Network to finish the year strong, and we want to take as many people with you. And today with Erickson, Jay Tenebaum, and Brent Keslser, I think that we're going to have that. So I'm going to get right to my first guest. My first guest is Mr. Jay Tenebaum. Hey, Jay, how are you doing today?
Terrific, Robert. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, I'm really excited about having you as well, Jay. What's really great is, we've been able to know each other for, what is it going on 3 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, in a way, it seems like time is just like, I always say as I get older, years are like months, months are like weeks, and weeks are like days.
I know, right?
And so, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on today is, you help a lot of people, and in your specialty really is kind of like in the real estate, arena, so to speak. And, and you have many ways you put on masterminds, you bring people to, great events at Galvanize. And, the other thing that I think that you do really well is you're a really wonderful public speaker, and you get the message to others across really, really well. And I really appreciate that about you. But before I go on with that, what I'd like to do is go back a little bit, because not everyone knows Mr. Jay Tenebaum, not like I do. Tell us, where did you grow up?
So I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. My mom owned a catering service for most of my childhood, almost all my life. And my father owned restaurants. And I initially thought that was my career path. And I went to school in Southern Colorado and was on the ski team. So I skied and went to school in my spare time, and came back to Denver, started, pursuing a career in the restaurant business. One innocuous night, my father and I are having dinner, just him and I, which is a rare occurrence, almost like a pink unicorn. And he turns to me and he says, "Get out of this business, go get in a profession." Medicine didn't interest me, but law did. So basically, I just but just figured it out, finished up my undergrad, went to law school the following fall. Otherwise, I knew I never would. Moved to California, where I got accepted to the law school, stayed and spent most of my life in California. Had a law practice with my wife for 20 years, and then got tired of being a babysitter. So closed it down. And in 2013, I get, again, how life just changes by just, things are meant to be, right? I get an email from a real estate buddy of mine, a realtor. It says this guy who I'd never heard of is having a 4-day note buying for dummies workshop down in San Diego. Spent 4 days with him and decided that, gee, could I become a real estate investor buying distressed mortgage notes?
But all of your education was law. I mean, that seems like it was a big pivot at that point in your life.
Well, it really wasn't, because basically what transformed my desire to get in the note business was, hey, I've been in debt all my life, just not personally. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was just an easy segue into just chasing a different debt instrument than what I had been doing in my collection side. And I still use my law knowledge on a daily basis with what I do. And so that's just in 2013, I've been a real estate investor. I've invested in more than 350 plus deals over about 28 different states, nothing in my backyard, which is really what kind of makes me a little unique. And I moved to Arizona 3 years ago. I think you and I met probably fairly soon after I got here. And it's been, life in paradise. I love it here.
Well, and that's really interesting because, when I think of real estate, Jay, I really don't think about real estate that's not in my backyard, so to speak. I think is it going to be in my city? Is it going to be in my county, even in the state? But with you're actually making money, probably, right, on properties that you don't even see.
I've barely seen majority of what I've ever bought. And the reason, and the thing is, it's not that I would have, aspired to say, this is what I'm going to do. The thing is, when I got involved in buying mortgage notes, I lived in California. Pricing of mortgage notes in California was over the roof in 2013. You can't make any money when you're buying something for 90 cents on the dollar. I could buy something in Ohio for 30 cents on the dollar. Go figure. So I learned very quickly how to do it remotely, how to build strong teams, how to, be able to make money, as you said, without seeing, touching, or feeling it, especially with mortgage notes. I may never even own the property anyway, right? I buy the paper. Now, I've pivoted over the course of my career. I buy both. I buy properties, I buy notes, but it's still the same team structure, same team building. And I can do it anyway.
When for a lot of lay people, I mean, they look at property and then they look at note. How would a lay person distinguish what differs between property and note?
On a note, you're buying paper. Property, you're buying 4 walls and a roof.
But that almost paper. How Jay, really? I mean, you're buying paper.
You're literally buying a piece of paper. You're buying a piece of paper. I mean, it's a promissory note and a mortgage. That's what you're buying. I mean, granted, you can't just go out and just, pull it off the shelf. You've got to get educated to learn how to do it. But that's literally, in a very rudimentary setting, that's really all you're doing is buying the paper. You become, you can for a day or for career can say, I'm Bank of America. I'm Wells Fargo. I'm Jay Tenebaum. It's no different.
Now, I mean, for me, like in other entrepreneurs, they're looking at this last quarter, they're looking at 2021, maybe they haven't been successful. What way would you be able to help them maybe leverage themselves out, or even, like what I love about Mark Victor Anson, he talks about multiple, revenue streams. Is this a revenue stream that people can come into and actually be profitable in a certain amount of time?
Absolutely. because here's the thing, with what I do, it provides a variety of revenue options on one single asset, if not more. For example, if I'm buying a mortgage note, I have to my disposal potentially 16 different exit strategies that may be applicable on the one asset I'm buying. Now, what do we do with Scottsdale REI? We're diverse. We will buy property. We have a rental. We have about 60 doors of rental properties. We buy mortgage notes. We're collecting mortgage payments, mailbox money, literally. We're doing our share of fix and flips. We're getting some transactional income. America right now, while the real estate market has not changed in COVID, there are still plenty of opportunity. I get opportunity coming my way every day. In fact, right before I got on the show with you, I got a call from a friend of mine. He's got 28 houses already rented up in Kansas City that are already appraised at 3.4 million, and we can buy it for like 2.5.
Now, when you work with people, of course, you're creating relationships that, some of them, are months in the making, some are the years in the making. You've been in this 7 years, but knowing you personally, I've seen how successful you've become in this industry. And for a lot who are just like, they want to know how to do it and where to start and what does it cost and why should they do it, and even why now, and what's the marketplace maybe going to look like? We're going through the election. We're going to go into 2021. Is COVID here to stay? Is it not? Will real estate? Will banks need to call in loans? There's a lot of balls bouncing around right now. But my question would be: is this still a good time to really check out what you're offering to other entrepreneurs?
Oh, absolutely. So here's the thing. While our rental portfolios right now are performing better than they did pre-COVID, deals are still out there. Not in Arizona. I mean, deal pricing is high here. It just is. But really, in a nutshell, it's really a matter of I can show you how to get. Okay, let me take a step back. Prior to 2013, the only real estate experience I had was just like everybody else. I bought and lived in my own homes and sold and moved on to another home. I had absolutely zero real estate experience prior to that. Okay. Fast forward 7 years, 350 deals. Yeah, I've made this into a business. But if I'm a small solopreneur or whatever, just looking to like you said, like Anthony, it's let's create different revenue streams. Okay, I can show you I can show you in real time, hands-on. Partnering with us is one easy way to do it, with regards to showing you exactly what we do, how we do, when we do, why we do, and you learn as you are. It's just not. It's a better way than going to some pitch guy at a hotel ballroom or now a Zoom ballroom, and get here, spend 2 hours with me and for free. Spend 3 days with me for $1.95. Spend your career with me for $20,000. No, that's not what we do. We believe in helping you. It starts with a conversation, right? Who are you? What are your goals and objectives? How can I help you? And I'm sure I can.
Well, and that's what I like. It all starts with a conversation, and and that's why it's so important. And I think you and I would both agree. It's so important to keep on these Zoom calls. It's so important to keep being trained. It's so important to keep learning, being relevant, being seen. I am sure for you. I've seen you speak in person. I've seen you gain clients from stage, etc. I've seen you sit down across the table, discuss what it is that you do. But I'm sure that there's been a learning curve for you as well. I'm sure COVID, had to make you pivot a little bit. What are some of the uses of technology that you employ right now, to maintain the level of success that you had before COVID came along?
Oh, technology is key. I mean, for example, technology, we are in the alpha testing of software that we're launching ourselves during COVID. We decided to launch some investor portal software. Grew out of the necessity of our business, the ability to more efficiently manage our investors. But we decided that was the small idea, the light bulb, and we turned it into halogen lights by figuring out, as long as we're going down this road, what else can we make it do that will be a benefit to all real estate investors, over all types of asset classes. So between that and launching a podcast, that's what we did during COVID.
Yeah. Well, in like you said, I mean, here are the things that are really remarkable for me. You know that really recently, my wife and I lived in Queen Creek, and it was very, very troublesome for us both. We had a high level of anxiety selling our house. We knew our house would get sold very, very quickly, and then getting into another house. Now, what's really interesting about that is you stated that you're able to buy notes and or properties that are in other states. In a way, you kind of bullet yourself by being able to leverage, your system, and not in the chaotic Arizona market, but, let's say it's Ohio or Pennsylvania or Mississippi or Washington or wherever you do business. That's what I think is really, really fascinating. So I know that you are able to utilize technology to its fullest advantage. I know that you're able to reach out, across borders like that. But, what are some of the things that you've learned that will help bulletproof people here in Arizona so they can take advantage of some of these deals? What way do you reach them and get them to understand, this really is the first step towards some of their financial freedom?
So it's real simple. It starts with as I said before, a conversation. It starts with a mindset that I don't have to see it, touch it, and feel it, right? If you and I are gonna have a conversation and you're still wet on, I have to see it, it has to be in my backyard, this isn't for you. But you're missing out on a ton of opportunity, because while you want to be an investor, right, you want to know how to get in, you want to play in the Arizona market, great, or the Phoenix market, let's make it even narrower than that, right? That's what it is. Now, if you have the whole United States as your playground, you don't think you're going to find opportunity, and you're finding opportunity at still very good discounts. My students that I teach a mastermind to just closed on 11 mortgage notes yesterday for $175,000, and the value of those notes are over $750,000. Where you tell me there's still not opportunity out there? Of course there is, right? And they'll do very well with that kind of stuff, right? It's connections. And so what I have strived to do is saying, look, you don't know where to start. That's always everybody's hurdle, everybody's mental block, right?
Absolutely.
I'll make it easy. Just talk to me. I'll walk you through it. I'll lead you by the hand. I'll show you what to do. How did I start? I partnered up with people that knew what they were doing. I got a little bit of education to have some idea what I was doing, partnered up with those to make it work in real time, and just went on from there. And that's what I offer to anybody else.
Yeah, and another expertise, because I believe you've worked yourself with all the hours and efforts, towards mastery. One of the things that you do is you also facilitate a mastermind with other professionals as well, where you have access to a lot of pertinent information that you can share with those that you counsel, that you mentor, correct?
There's very little in this business that's the secret sauce we're hitting. I'm an open book. It's all about co-opetition, not competition. My father taught me that a long time ago.
Yeah. So Jay, how do people get in reach with you? What is the best step? And what would that first conversation look like when they actually start talking with you?
So the first step is really quite easy, right? You see people, the Warren Buffett's whatever said, here's my cell phone, right? And I'm sure there's been studies saying like, here's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett offered you your cell phone, right? How many people would actually call it? You'd be scared to death, right? I'm not the big bad wolf here. When I give you my phone number or my email, I will respond, right? You got my email going across the banner, my phone number, 714, still California number, 714-458-6317. It starts with a phone conversation, because really I can help just about anybody. But you know what? The first step is, let me get to know you. What do you want to do? If you're a solopreneur, it's not about going into this like I am it's not one size fits all. We're not going to have a conversation that says you need to stop what you're doing and become a real estate investor full time. It's, I can show you how to create additional revenue streams. Run your business, right? Generate your revenue, and throw some of that revenue into real estate. And while in a passive or active or passive manner, so you're still working on your business, and that's all fine and great, and you can still do this. And when you're talking about bulletproofing, it's your business is what it is, and it's bulletproof, recession-proof, COVID-proof, whatever it is, right? But real estate is not going anywhere. Yes, it has its ups and downs, cyclically, like everything else. But I gotta tell you, the 2-second speech on where the economy is headed, being real estate, whatever. You know what? Unlike 2008, the feds have decided that they're not going to just. In 2008, they didn't know what to do, and everything collapsed, and everything we recovered over 10 years plus, right? Now they knew what didn't work then, and between keeping interest rates at 0% and all this, they're pulling out all the stops to make sure as best they can that real estate does not tank again.
Yeah. Well, I totally am in with you 110%. It reminds me of a conversation that Michael Jordan had concerning Emmett Smith. Emmett Smith asked him, Michael Jordan, why don't you help more people? And he says, I don't help more people in the way that you think, because it's only the people who really reach out and ask are the ones that are going to be worthy of working with me. And, so if you really want to have a mentor that you can model after, everyone who's listening here, please reach out to Jay Tenebaum. He's a great coach, a great mentor, leads a mastermind. He's out in the public. He won't steer you wrong. Like I said, I've known Jay for about 3 years, professional speaker, great guy. Jay, I really appreciate having you here today.
My pleasure. And one last thing, I appreciate the opportunity to work with anybody. And I'll tell you right now, it's not, here's my program for 5,000. Here's my program for 20,000. My program is my time. And that is priceless, but that's what it is. Whether we partner up, we find a deal, we get to know who you are and what you want to do. I'll find a fit. And we're just investing in stuff. That's all we're doing.
All right. Well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate having you here today. It's always great to talk with you.
My pleasure, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Wow, that was good, huh, Brent? We got the first segment there with Jay Tenebaum out, and I really appreciate some of the words that he had for our entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That information that Jay shared, well, he opened up my mind to some things that are going on out there. So that was very good. Very good. I appreciate hearing that.
Well, Brent, you and I actually have a personal story that both you and I can share. I mean, when I met you, Grant Cardone was in town. Tamerlane Ann had invited me over to these after-hour parties, and which was really amazing. It was a room packed full of some great people. And I remember I stayed a little bit longer, probably later than I needed to. But I remember there was this guy, I don't know, this guy who was still working on his haircut, but, came up and stood up in front of the room. And, that guy happened to be you. And I remember sitting there with my jaw dropped, and I thought, wow, this guy, I got to have him. He has to get in our community. He's going to help, change people's lives. And, so we started a dialogue with each other. We started that conversation.
Yeah.
Here we are talking on the phone. I still remember it in Arizona. I'm like driving down the 303 from my mom's at Litchfield Park. And you're like, Robert, I will come out there. Let's get on stage. You and I booked the date. Then all of a sudden COVID happened, and now we're really a radio show.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yep. In Arizona. It was, yes. So anyway, the evening event that I did before I went on the Grant Cardone stage and spoke at his event. Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it was just yesterday. And then everything kind of changed, with the whole COVID situation.
Well, and it's really funny because I remember your presentation, and you really do come up there, very unassuming, very articulate, but very unassuming. I remember the presentation which you had going in the background, and I mean, you had facts and figures and charts and pies, and I mean, my goodness, I was I was ready to break out in like this also figure coming around and stuff like that. It was I was just like, man. I mean, if you can't be sold with what you've gone through, and done yourself, that I always say, those who go through it and end up doing it usually end up doing it best, because they know what it took, and and I know that you've been there as well, But before I get to that pivot point in your company, like I did with Jay, I always like our audience to kind of get to know who you are as well. Like, where did you grow up? What were your parents like, even, maybe some passions and some prior education.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. And well, actually, I grew up in Florida, and then I decided to go to chiropractic school, and I went to chiropractic school. It was kind of right. So like, that wasn't my first career. It was a second career. I was in the grocery business for a while, and then anyway, it was back in 1996. My wife and I were married, and anyway, I had always thought about going to chiropractic school. I always thought, hey, I want to go to chiropractic school. And at the time I was like 29 years old, and my wife and I had just got married. And so I was thinking just like, and so the thing is, I came to her and I said, hey, so anyway, I think I'd like to go to chiropractic school. However, I'm 29 years old, and it's going to take me some time to go, because I didn't have any undergrad education whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I got pulled out of school in the 10th grade. So I didn't even have a high school education. So when I went to the counselor and said, hey, I want to go to the chiropractic school, they kind of just took a look at me and laughed and said, you can't go to chiropractic school. I said, well, why not? They said, well, because you don't even have a high school education. I said, well, what do I got to do to get one of those, And they said, you got to go take your GED. So I had to go take my GED. And I told my wife, I said, look, this is going to take about 7 years, right? Because I got to do my undergrad. I got to go to chiropractic school. And I said, by the time I'm done, I'm going to be in my mid 30s. And she said to me, I remember this. She says, well, she said, right. But if you don't go, how old are you going to be in 6 or 7 years anyway? Right. So you might as well go and do what you want to do. So anyway, so like I went to chiropractic college. I ended up going, and I graduated in 2004, but I graduated in 2001, but I never actually started as a chiropractor until a couple years later, because I kept failing my national board exams, right? And you have to take the board exams in order to go and just to get your license. I mean, I can graduate from school, but now I got to take the board exams, and they only gave those tests every 6 months. And I remember that I failed part 3 times. So I never opened up my office until 2004. Yeah. And then kind of fast forward, I started an office. I was in the Kansas City area. So like, I went to school in St. Louis, and I started in the Kansas City area. And so I opened up clinic number 1, and I thought, well, okay, this is going pretty good. I can expand this thing. So then I opened up a second clinic. And then, kind of fast forward a few years later, I had 5 clinics, and I had associate docs in all of my clinics, right? But even before I got to that point, I found myself into some debt from like student loan debt. I had my house mortgage. So I had, we had a condo at the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. Obviously, if you have a condo on the lake, you have to have a boat and a wave runner, right?
Oh, yeah.
So no debt. I was an airplane pilot, so I had to have my own airplane. So I got into more debt. So I ended up being $984,711 in debt. Wow. That was in February of 2008. And so that's when I discovered this method that I now teach. And I don't want to, again, I want you to ask a question to go on.
Yeah, and it's really amazing, Brent, because one of the things I know, like if you go to the conservative school of finance, it's a penny saved is a penny earned, and but for a lot of us, right, we start making more. The moment we start making more, what do? We spend even more than what we make. Then all of a sudden we make more than that, and then all of a sudden what do we do again? We spend even more than that. And then all of a sudden we get in this vicious cycle of never really getting our money to ever do anything for us.
Right, exactly. And I kind of refer to that as like, all right, once you experience a luxury, it becomes a necessity, right? Can you ever go back to a car where you actually have to roll down the window by hand and crank it, right?
Right.
Could you ever buy a car that doesn't have air conditioning anymore, right? You've experienced that luxury. And once you experience, it becomes a necessity. And it seems like our expenses rise to equal our income, right?
Yeah.
So,
so looking back at that, you're getting to that point. I mean, you have the dollar down to the 11. Mean, that's amazing. But but one day you woke up, you stated to yourself, I need to change something.
Yeah.
It's very clear that what I've done well, but it's not well enough for what I'm doing. So what did that look like when you actually had to create that first pivot? Did someone approach you? Did you see an email that came in that said, "Hey, buy more"? What was it that made you actually say, I'm going to start going in this direction and not that direction?
Yeah, well, actually, I was at a chiropractic convention and it was in 2006. So the information that I teach now, I first heard it back in 2006. And I was at a chiropractic convention the first time I heard it. And I watched the presentation. I watched it and I was like, man, that looks really, really good, but it looks too good to be true, right? Have you ever seen something like that? You look at it and it looks too good to be true. Well, that was my thought. And I thought, okay, well, it looks good, but it looks good, just too good to be true. So I went on with my life. So then it was just about a year and a half later, I go back to another chiropractic convention, and about 10 or 12 of my colleagues are there at that convention that were with me at the previous convention. And they were all coming up to me and they were saying, man, Brent, isn't that banking concept awesome, to pay off debt, to build wealth, to recapture, recycle your money, to keep control of your money, all without having to work any harder, take any additional risk, lose control. And They were just going on and on, about 10 or 12 of my colleagues. And I had totally, at that time, I had forgotten about it because I came home and did do nothing. So they were different than me because they heard the same information at the same time I did, but they implemented it and I didn't. So they were going on and on about how this was working in their life or their money and their finances. So I thought to myself, there has to be something to this, right? There's no way that 10 or 12 of my colleagues are lying to me. Maybe one or two, but not 10 or 12. So I went home to my wife and I said, honey, we've got to start implementing this financial concept in our life. And it was February of 2008. We were $984,711 in debt. That's what we owed to the third-party creditors. Now, again, you're thinking, well, how does a guy from Kansas get to be almost $1 million in debt? I know in California, Arizona, that buys a very small house, but in Kansas, it buys a lot. Well, as I stated earlier, I had my house, I had my student loans, I had my chiropractic clinic, had a condo on the lake, boats and wave runners, airplane pilot and airplane. So it didn't take me a lot to become $1 million in debt. Well, at that time, I put this concept in place because I knew I had to do something different. I needed to break the bonds of financial slavery I didn't even realize I was in and start taking control of my own money and my own wealth. So I did that. And I put this concept that I teach into place. And I was able to pay that debt off in 39 months, 3 years and 3 months. Didn't have to work harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of my money. All I did, Robert, was I added one step in my financial life. I added one step. I wasn't changing everything that I was doing. I just added one simple step in my financial life, and that totally changed it.
Yeah. And before you give away that one step, I mean, there is something that you've said that's so profound, and it's the same thing that I feel about Jay as well. And what that is decision. The point to decide, do I trust Brent? Do I trust Jay? When we hear this so much, and you have to get to know a person. They say know, like, and trust. And I really do believe that exists. But I think the other things that people are really looking for now is it goes beyond trust. It goes to support. And I know, like with Jay, he supports his tribe. I know Brent, I know through, even with Violetta talking with me last night, you don't say, hey guys, here's this great opportunity, I'm going to sign you up. And then you give them some 1-800 number, never to be seen again. You guys provide amazing support as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's what it's all about is again, okay, so the one quote that I love is what just the late Zig Ziglar said. And Zig Ziglar says, you help enough other people get what they want, you'll end up getting what you want. So I truly believe that I was put on this earth to serve as many of God's children as possible, right? With the knowledge that I have, and okay. And again, what you said, Robert, is that I am in the trenches as well. I am doing exactly what I am teaching people to do. I'm right. So I'm not just saying, hey, go do this. This is going to work good. Yeah. I actually do it. So when I design the product for the person or for the client or for our member, right, I design that exactly the way I design mine. So, okay, so the thing is, we heard Jay say earlier, there's no secret sauce, right? I don't put any secret sauce on my plan that I don't put on yours, right? So I'm doing exactly the same thing that I'm teaching, and I eat, breathe, and live this stuff. And my family is also in my business. My wife, my children, and they're doing the same thing, right? So the thing that I'm teaching people to do through the money multiplier method, through the concept called becoming your own banker that was taught to me by a guy named R. Nelson Nash. He wrote a book called Becoming Your Own Banker. Well, anyway, so Nelson Nash totally changed my financial life. I just took what he just had, his principles and what he taught, and I applied it. I didn't go out and try to reinvent the wheel. Right. All I did is I just said, okay, I'm going to do what he's doing because it's working for him. And again, the concept that I teach, Robert, has been around for over 200 years. Right? This is how Walt Disney built Disney World. This is how Ray Kroc funded McDonald's, and he funded the mascot we know as Ronald McDonald. This is how Jim Harbaugh, the University of Michigan, pays their head football coach. This is how Pampered Chef got started by a lady named Doris Christopher with $3,000 in her basement of her Chicago home, and sold it later to Warren Buffett for $1.5 billion. So the concept and the methods about the money that I teach, it's not brand new. I didn't create it. Nelson Nash didn't create it. It's been around for over 200 years. It's what the wealthy do.
Yeah, this is tried and true stuff. This is the financial 101 that we've lost. It's like the book that's on the shelf that they don't teach in school anymore, and so you're kind of like a prophet of, how do we bring this 101, this basic tried and true education back, to the people themselves, not hoarding it, and like what I love about what you do, Brett, you help people get out of debt, and you help them get into profit. Right. But you also allow them to take advantage of many other things. You can still be a marketer. You can still be a public speaker. You can still be an accountant. You can still be an attorney, and you can utilize that to work with you, and also to work with Jay, or to work with me, or to work with it. It's really the money multiplier it's more than just multiplying the money. What I'm trying to say, it actually helps you multiply the opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And again, so, okay, the core of what we teach is we teach people how to build wealth through their debts and expenses that they already have, right? So anyway, just to give you an example, all right? So the thing that most people do, if they go out and they buy something and they spend money, and it doesn't matter what it is, it could be for a house, a car, a boat, a bicycle, it can be for a bag of groceries, an airline ticket, a tank of gas, or a pack of chewing gum. The thing you have to do is you have to take that money and you have to give it to someone else. And in exchange, they give you the product or service. So they have the money. In exchange, you get the product and service. The money is gone. The money is gone. It has left your family forever. So the thing I teach you how to do is how to recapture and recycle that money and to keep that money in your family so there's no money being leaked out to other people. You have control of that money. And this concept is what the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, and the Barclays have done, right? They're keeping money inside of the family. It's even talked about in a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Second Chance. Robert Kiyosaki, he talks about turning liabilities into assets. He talks about turning assets that are depreciating into appreciating assets. All right. That's the Robert Kiyosaki book called Second Chance. There's another book out there by Tony Robbins called Money Master the Game. Chapter 5.2, I think it's 5.2 or 5.4 of that book. Okay. So the method that I teach is exactly what Tony Robbins teaches in that book. But see, the thing is, when people read those books, they just skip right through it. They read it, it looks good, but they never kind of digest, peel back the onion of what does this really mean? So what are they telling me? So that's the concept just that I teach. And the foundation of what I teach is through the book, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. And then I wrote a book earlier this year, me and my colleague, Chris Noggle, we wrote a book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. Yeah. And that's what we teach.
Yeah. It's something that I teach as well, Brent, from the standpoint of what you're saying. People skim through and so they learn the how, but I always say to really become successful in anything, you have to really dig deep and learn how to do the how. Really, you have to learn how to do the how. And that's what makes the money multiplier different. You don't go from A to B to C to D, you dig deeper. So every step has a deeper meaning to help get everyone to their success much faster.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Robert. And again, that's it. Because so the thing is, people are in all different situations right now with money or finances, right? And as far as the concept that I teach, it doesn't matter if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour, right? The thing we want to do is keep that money. We want to keep that money in our control, right? So it's so the concept I teach, it doesn't matter what's going on in the external world. It doesn't matter if just the housing prices go up and down, stock markets goes up and down. If you're making or losing money in your qualified plan, your 401k, in your mutual fund, it doesn't matter if there's a pandemic or no pandemic, riots and protest or no riots and protest. You love Trump, you hate Trump, you're a Republican, Democrat. It doesn't matter. What I teach has no external factor on that whatsoever. And it's not an investment, okay? The concept I teach is not an investment. I never tell people, okay, don't invest in that, but do in this, okay? No. I mean, if you like investing in notes, real estate, if you like investing in antique cars, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever it is, you should still continue to do that. I teach the process, the step, the one additional step that you want to do before you go out and make those investments. So that way you can recapture and recycle all of the dollars that have been going out and leaving your family forever.
I love that, because we hear a lot about you want to create legacy, you want to leave legacy. I hear it a lot, but what I don't see is I don't see a lot of doing of that. And this is really one way that I've seen in the money multiplier that a person can actually achieve their legacy with tried and true steps. And that's what I love. So, what I want to do is I just want to make sure that I have your information scrolling across the screen, Brent. Just give us your last way of the best way to contact you or to contact your team and really begin this journey of financial freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Again, our website, the company is called The Money Multiplier. The website is www.themoneymultiplier.com, as you see on the screen. Also, there's my email, brent@themoneymultiplier.com. So just get a taste of what we actually do. Here's what I would encourage your listeners to do is to go to the website. All right, the website, themoneymultiplier.com. At the top of the homepage of the website, there's a tab and it says resources. It says resources. And if you click on resources, now click on presentation. All right. And that really explains what this concept is all about. Now, in that presentation, when you watch it, the thing you can do is you can watch the whole entire presentation, and it's a little bit over an hour and a half long, but it's also broken down into 10 individual sections. And I also have downloadable attachments and printouts that you can print out to follow along with my examples. Now, I know what most people are thinking right now. An hour and a half. I don't have an hour and a half. I'm busy. Well, let me tell you, this is about your financial life. This is about adding that one step in your financial life. So I would highly recommend that you take the time to look at it. So what that might mean is you may have to turn off the TV. You may have to skip an episode of American Idol or The Bachelor, or maybe skip a game, or maybe not attend Susie's piano lessons one time or Bobby's soccer practice. But I'm telling you, this information, it totally changed my financial life. And I'm working with people in every state of this country, and it will drastically change your financial life. So take the time and just go review the information. And probably what's going to happen is when you look at it, you're going to be like I was back in that classroom in 2006. It looks really good, but it looks too good to be true. So keep an open mind. Keep an open mind when you're watching it, because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is not what your parents and grandparents taught you about money. It's not what your friends, your colleagues, and your coworkers are doing. It is an outside of the box concept, but it's not on trial. It's been tested for over 200 years, and this is what our wealthy do.
Well, I really want to appreciate you coming on to the show today, Brent. You never lack passion. I just have to tell you that. I mean, I'm still trying to get you to raise your energy a little bit.
I'll try to get a little more excited next time we do this.
Yeah, but I really appreciate you being on here today and sharing with us. And I'm really looking forward to getting this next big event and getting with you and having you out here as our guest so you can share what the money multiplier is to others. Thank you so much, Brent.
Absolutely, Robert. Thank you. I look forward to it. And thanks again for having me. We'll see you next time.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Join the 1% Club and become a #1 bestseller. 1% of entrepreneurs maximize their SEO and marketing. You are invited to become a contributing author for the guaranteed best-selling book, 365 Quotes from Networkers. Contact your show host to find out how. Join the 1% Club today.
Eric, hi, welcome to the show, the iNETrepreneur radio show on the iNETrepreneur network.
Yeah, super excited to be here today. Thanks for the invite.
I am super excited for you to be here as well. I mean, we've had Jay Tenebaum. He talked about, making money off of notes, not even having the icky properties. I mean, I have a friend that says no termites, no toilets, no tenants. So I think that's what Jay does. What a great way to be able to make money investing in real estate, sight unseen. And then Brent Keslser coming on and looking at a different way of an entrepreneur can also make money by, cycling their own funds and being their own bank. I mean, wow. For me, the Bank of Jones, I think I could see that up there somewhere. Get my next office space. And then, Eric, what I like about you is, you also have another flavor that helps people as well. I always say there's three major things in the people's lives. It's like, how much money they have, how much time they have, and, the way that they can, use technology to leverage both. And what I love about what you do, very similar is you have the ability to help people leverage time so they can be far more efficient, through the use of automation and technologies and proper messaging. So we'll get to talk about that a little bit here in a little bit. But what I would like to do, like I did with our other guest, is where did you grow up? Tell us maybe about your mom and dad and kind of how did you become you?
Yeah, that's a super great question. I grew up in the Bronx. So for those of you who don't know, the Bronx is New York City. Then moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, spent a bunch of time there. Then once I graduated our high school, I moved around a bit. We're between New York and Utah and Southern California and back to New Mexico and now here in Arizona. I went to college at State College, which is now a university in Utah, and ever since then I kind of moved around and had I've been very fortunate to do a lot of different things around business and building and buying and selling and consulting and coaching various people how to start businesses and how to get what they want out of their life.
So I mean, going from the Bronx to New Mexico, I'm sure that wasn't a culture shock by any means. It's no different. I think in one borough you have as many people living in one borough as you do in the entire state of New Mexico, if I know my math right.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I moved to a city called Rio Rancho. Mm-hmm. And at the time, there was a company called AmRep that was literally taking these big, huge buses, going to New York, doing these big hoopla things that y'all need to move to Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It's the new place. And so my grandparents actually ended up taking that one of those buses and ended up moving to Rio Rancho. So my mom, my sister, and I ended up following. And so I kind of felt at home for the most part because I was around a bunch of New Yorkers. So the accent, the way we did things, the deli, that was all there. So it was all okay.
Yeah, it was like a micro apple, right? You had a micro apple there. Well, I mean, like what's really incredible to me, like Jay told us, I mean, he was an attorney at one time, and then he went into real estate. Brent, he was actually a chiropractor with 5 practices, and then he became a champion of being your own bank with Money Multiplier. Now, Eric, with you, I mean, it sounds like you traveled a lot, got some education. Did you have a pivot point like Jay and Brent that said you were over here, and all of a sudden you pivoted and said, but I see the need and necessity over there?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So when I was in college, I became an advertising manager for all the student publications at the school. And it was actually something that allowed me to pay for my education and also make a little bit of money to live. However, what I found myself doing was helping a lot of these small businesses in the area that I was in to develop their advertising budgets. And I realized I actually had a knack for it. I was helping them spend their money wisely and know what to do with it, how to get the most bang for their buck. And so I got this call one day out of the blue from this little business. I don't know, it was an hour and a half south of where I was at. And it was this this car wash that had a general store and a laundromat all built into one. And they said, Eric, we heard that you could help us. We need help analyzing our business and seeing where we're going wrong. And we just need some help. I'm like thinking to myself, golly, I'm speechless. It's sounds cool, but yeah, I could help you. I can do that for you. Not really knowing what I was getting myself into. So using my business background that I gotten from school and from a lot of entrepreneurship I'd done in the past and a little bit of studying, I had to analyze businesses. I went down there and did my thing and ended up becoming a smash hit. It worked out really well. And that was a pivotal moment for me because I realized that, wow, I know how to do this. I know how to analyze. I know how to see processes and see patterns in a different way that people that traditionally see them. And so that was a big moment in time for me as it really structured how I did things moving forward.
Yeah, and I do believe that it's a gift. I believe anytime that you're able to sit down with a client and be able to help them with their message, develop clarity, automate systems so they can expand their reach. I think that's wonderful. That's what happens a lot of time. But for a lot of people, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're really working with the person as much, if not more, than the business itself. And there's a lot of psychology that is involved when you work with that person sitting across the table because they're attached to it. I mean, you could talk E-Myth all day long. You're the technician, you're the manager, you're the owner. Well, gosh, if you're all three of those things, how can you not be a part of that business? And how can you not take conversations not personally? I'm sure there is a lot of psychology behind what you do to get the best out of your clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the first and foremost thing that comes to mind is really identifying what it is they want. Identifying what is their why. May also dip into the why and the how, and then being able to do some redirecting, some restructuring. I truly believe that a person's success really lies within them. If they have the desire, they have the motivation, they really want to do what it takes to be successful, they can do that. Mm-hmm. However, it just takes someone else to be able to redirect here, pivot there. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And what it really comes down to is utilizing those tools, knowledge, and experience that they have to their utmost potential, and help drive that success.
Well, and I like that you brought that up because I think that that's something else. What I have found is, a lot of business owners, they constantly work on the what. They're always working on the what. But one of the things that they tend to forget is what you talked about. They tend to work on the why, and really the what doesn't drive the why. The why drives the what. Mm-hmm. And if you can do your what well, it sounds kind of crazy, but if you can do your what well, others will pay for that how. And I always say, people, at the end of the day, we really don't pay for the where, the who, the when, etc. What we really do is we pay for the outcome of a person's why as it manifests into the what, because I don't know how to do it, or I don't do it well enough. And I think that you probably have to cut through that and say, you need to speak to the person's pain point to be uber successful. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah. And helping them identify what it is, because sometimes people don't understand what their pain point is. So that's kind of one of the things that I do with individuals is identifying what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what are the skills that you're good at, what hard skills, what soft skills are you good at, are you really good at, what knowledge do you have, did you receive schooling, do you speak another language, what experience do you have, were you in the restaurant industry for 20 years and now you want to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a living? That all really builds in to and how I help the business.
Yeah, and I can give you an example myself. I mean, I served 6 years in the Marines, and for the longest time, I for what happened in my tour, it's all different. I kind of had a bitter thing, and I didn't really embrace that. And it kind of took a lot of personal growth to say, hey, I'm a vet. Hey, I embrace this, even though maybe sometimes we feel like the country doesn't embrace us as much as we want to, that doesn't take away that, others will see my service as something that's important and valuable. So I think that, I really, appreciate what you're saying. When you look at the why, you also have to kind of knock down some of the mental blocks that a lot of us entrepreneurs do. And probably one of the biggest mental blocks I think that we all have is that, there's for a lot of us a fear of success.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that insecurity, they hit their first speed bump, so to speak, and say, oh gosh, I don't like to do this anymore. One of the types of individuals that I work with the most are the ones that have, I call the paper napkin idea. And they were, sitting down somewhere in some place and had this great idea, and they wrote it down on this piece of paper or on this paper napkin. They put it in their pocket.
Yeah.
And they got home and they threw it down somewhere and picked up a couple of times. And I'm not sure it's such a great idea anymore. However, those are the ideas that sometimes become the greatest ideas, right? And helping people validate, do you really have the tools, knowledge, and experience to make this idea that you have become a reality? What does it look like? How does it feel? And being able to go through the motions with them, and that then that success comes in a different way, I believe. It becomes more, oh gosh, I think I really can do this now. I really think that I do have the tools, knowledge, and experience to do this, rather than the person saying, hey, I'm a really good restaurateur, so I'm going to make, I'm going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches the rest of my life. And I'm the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich the rest, but not really knowing I know how to make them, but I really don't know, Robert, how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and how you like that peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. I always believe this, to the entirety is, just like, products have to be prototyped out so you can replicate them for success. Thoughts, processes have to be, you can't, if you have an incomplete car, you replicate an incomplete car. If you have an incomplete process, guess what? You are replicating an incomplete process. And I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially for this show, making real money is being able to take certain aspects of your business, and really automate them. So, in the same way that Jay and Brent can help people, almost like automate money in a certain respect, what you do is you help a business owner automate their processes so they actually become, highly effective. And, like, hey, if you're automating something, you don't have to spend as much time, maybe, doing accounting, or so much time working on legals and standard operating procedures. You don't have to, hire even many people to do your marketing. You can actually get more out of less by looking at the things that are successful, and you're reapplying those successes. And I think that's something that's very important. Is, I always say you got to have goals. You have to create actions, but the most importantly, you have to have a measurement tool, and follow-up tool to see what's successful for which versus what's not. Because if you don't have that, there is no formula for improvement without feedback.
Yeah, I always like to use the proverbial mud ball, right? People, you pick up business picks up a piece of, a handful of mud, and they throw it at the wall, and whatever sticks is what they end up doing, right? What I actually like to tell the individuals I work with is that, hey, what if I could tell you or show you what ingredients need to go into that mud ball? Yeah. So when you throw the mud ball at the wall, you actually know what percentage of mud is going to stick on the wall.
Yeah, that is great. I love that analogy. Now, we're about at the end of the show, so I want to make sure that everyone is able to reach out to you and, and contact you. And, maybe like one tool, is there a tool, out there that really can help a business owners kind of at least establish somewhat of a baseline just to see maybe what their need set looks like? Do you have something like that, Eric?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the one thing that I really work with a lot of individuals is helping to take the tunnel vision and try and broaden the spectrum a little bit. It's as simple as getting a piece of paper, getting a pen, and writing down all of the skills, right? All of your hard skills, all of the soft skills. If you don't know what those actually mean, Google it. Google's your best friend. You can identify what hard skill and soft skills are. Then write down the knowledge, all the knowledge of everything that you are good at. Write down all of your experience, and then they look at that list. A list should hopefully be a big list, and identify, oh gosh, I never thought that I could use this for that or that for this. And you'll start drawing different conclusions just by making a list. So that's the big thing I really recommend. Reach out to my blog, businessattitudes.com. I put a lot of time and energy into writing good content that business owners can use to help them to be successful. And the best way to really get a hold of me is the email address. I'm in so many meetings all day long. I respond a lot quicker by email.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate you being on here, Eric, with Jay and Brent today. I think that we had a wealth of information, and I always like to say, let's do this again sometime.
Sure. Look forward to it.
I love Jim Rome, and he said, we should be so passionate about our business that we have an ethical and moral obligation to save as many lives as possible, and I take that to heart. It's my goal to bring out quality to other entrepreneurs, who are at varying levels of success, and partner them up with other people who really have, the golden attributes, those missing attributes, because whatever you're failing at, there's someone out there that's just excels at it. And for me, it's my job to try and match them up. So thank you so much, Eric, today. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to wrap up, everyone. I really am impressed, and I'm excited that we had Eric, Jay, and Brent on the show today. Different directions, different ways that they go about doing business, but each one of them, they don't want to say secret sauce, but in their own way, to me, it's a secret sauce because they're doing something I don't want to do. I just like, following their lead, and that's what creates success. I don't have to know everything. I just need to know someone who knows how to do everything. And that's what helps out. So thank you. We're here each week from 2:30 to 3:30. Have a great day, everyone.